Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you live. I'm Brad Brown. This is Joe Lossett. We're back bringing you another match in our NRG Series MTGO Invitational. This is for charity. The winner here will get to donate from us a certain amount of money. I think it's $100. It might be $500. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm going to say $100, and if I'm wrong, that's fine. But they get to donate to the charity of their choice. This is something that we wanted to put on, help those in need in these trying times with everything going on. And, we wanted to present some matches to everyone as well and keep all you guys entertained. So today we're going to be bringing you Phil Silberman on Bant Control versus Adam Raschig on Jund. This is another really interesting matchup, and I have a feeling this one's going to go pretty long. What are your thoughts on it, Joe?
Yeah, I agree that it will go long. I'm looking forward to it also. I'm more familiar with the Bant Control because that's basically what I worked on for the Star City Players Championship back in December. But the Jund is obviously is designed to be able to play a longer game. So I think both decks are going to, regardless of whether somebody stumbles, we should see long games anyway, and the players really have a chance to try and outmaneuver each other.
Now, this is a situation where decks like this can often in paper tournaments go to time, and they'll go to turns, and you might end up with the draw. But because we're playing this on Magic Online, players are going to have essentially chess clocks. And so there is going to be some real time management that's going to be needed in this match. How often, as a Legacy Miracles player, do you feel like you were coming close to going to time on average on Magic, Joe?
On average? Well, I can tell you, unfortunately, that the first Star City Players Championship, they listed statistics for the players, and in 2014 I had more than double the number of draws as any other player in the tournament. Now, playing on Magic Online is very different, as you aren't influenced by what the other player is necessarily doing. You don't have to waste time by talking to your opponents or things like that, and so I do think it's less of a factor, and hopefully these players don't run into any issues as far as the clock concerns.
Right. Now, Phil is a regular on our series. He's a delight to watch, in my opinion. I know he won one of our trials with Storm. Phil is a 30-year-old data analyst from Chicago, Illinois. He's got 2 NRG Series top 8s and that 1 series win. He's a 2019 championship competitor, SCG St. Louis Open top 8 in 2014, and he's got 2 SCG Classic wins. Some fun facts about Phil here. Tries to bake something new every week. I used to do that with a group of friends of mine. I learned a ton about cooking. It also helps fill out your kitchen. So if that's something you're interested in doing, you might want to try that out with your friends. He's now eaten 3 5-pound bags of gummy bears.
All right, I'm going to stop you right there because when we were driving back from the last live open that I did commentary for, we stopped, and I don't remember the name, perhaps you do. We stopped at a gummy bear factory, which I wasn't even aware was something that existed. And they do have 5-pound bags of gummy bears. I wonder if that's where he got them from.
Is this the Indianapolis place that you're talking about? Or it's outside Indianapolis?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yes. It's a famous candy place. That might be where he got them from, but yeah, I know it's very popular amongst Magic players when we travel to Indy, or when they travel to Indy. 5 pounds of gummy bears, though, is outrageous,
yeah,
right?
But that's not 5 pounds. That's 15 pounds.
Yeah, right. So Phil Silberman is on this Bant Control list. We saw a challenge deck go like 7-1 a few weeks ago, which looks very similar to this. It's almost card for card exactly the same. It looks like he added a Field of Rune. He took out a Spell Snare and added in another Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. It'll be really interesting to see how that card plays out for him. Looks like he wanted something to be able to close the game, eventually, over something like a Spell Snare. I love this deck, though. I am a huge fan. I think Uro combined with Mystic Sanctuary and Cryptic Command is just like 3 cards that will instantly win you the game if you can enable it or get it online. Things like Teferi Time Raveler are very good right now, in my opinion. And I'm absolutely in love with, essentially Baleful Strix for Modern here.
Yeah, so this is, like I was saying, this is very similar to what I started working with. Uro obviously didn't exist yet, and Oko was in place of it. But this is similar to what I started working with back last November. And I worked on it for a while and actually ended up, at the end, cutting most of the counters for a Stoneforge Mystic package. So that's another way to go. But here we'll see just kind of the more controlling, less aggressive version. I like the look of this deck too. I haven't played it with Uro, and I think, I mean, you're saying you're confident that it fits in great, and I have no trouble believing that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think players are starting to move toward this control variant because of cards like Kolaghan's Command out of the Jund decks, being able to take care of those things like Batterskull, as well as the various swords that you can play. So I think this is just a metagame consideration, but I think that Stoneblade version is wildly popular and has certainly has a place in the metagame as well. Just depends on what you're expecting to play week to week. Now on Adam's side, he will be playing against Jund. So we talked about Kolaghan's Command being kind of one of the big reasons you might not want to play Stoneblade. He does have 2 copies, which I think we both agree is one more than most players are playing. And another kind of consideration here is he has this main board Scavenging Ooze, which in this matchup in particular is going to be pretty good if he can snag those Uros, any type of spell that a Snapcaster Mage might be targeting, something along those lines.
Yeah, just limited because of Uro, the Scavenging Ooze effect, even if it's not eating creatures and getting bigger, it's very relevant. We have, in addition to what you just said, there's also the Mystic Sanctuary. So really, Snapcaster or Scavenging Ooze shuts down kind of a lot of the late game power of the Bant Control deck. So yeah, that might play a key role, even though there's only 1 copy. Other than that, we have kind of stock stuff, and then you were speaking earlier how you kind of appreciate the interplay of Kroxa versus Uro as kind of the opposite effects that when you play them against each other really comes out in one side's favor.
Yeah, I think the Uro is more powerful because if the Kroxa attacks for 6 and you have to discard, an Opt or something along those lines, you're fine with it. You don't take any damage, and then you just gain 3 of that 6 back on your Uro swing plus the card that you had to discard. Now, if you discard a land, you take that extra 3, but again, you're gaining that back anyway. So you're kind of like trading resources, but the Uro player ends up on top. And so it'll be really interesting. He also only has 2 copies of them, and they are weak to Path to Exile. So that is another consideration. On the reverse side, like we said, the Scavenging Ooze, keeping the Uro off the table, could spell Lights Out and make that Kroxa more powerful for the Jund player. It'll be really interesting to see how it plays out. I really like these Wrenn and 6s as well, combined with those 2 Baron Moors, so that he can just continue to cycle and gain a ton of card advantage over the blue-white player, and along with this Nurturing Peatland.
Yeah, that definitely. The Planeswalkers may not be, alongside Liliana, with the Wrenn 6, may not be real easy for the Bant deck to deal with once they get on the board and get running.
Yep, and this is a consideration again with the Stoneblade deck. You have that pressure if you need it, but like if you flash in a Snapcaster Mage against a Wrenn and 6 that has been plussing, it's not going to be able to kill it the first turn it comes down, and then the Wrenn can just minus and deal 1 damage to it and doesn't have to worry about it. Same is true with these Icewind Qualls as well. So it's going to be really hard for Phil to kind of win these games. I'm thinking Teferi, Hero of Dominaria might play a large part in these games.
That seems very possible. But I'm definitely excited to see how this plays out.
Yeah, so let's get down to the match. Phil will be the player on the bottom part of your screen. And then Adam will be on the top, and we'll be watching from Phil's point of view. Obviously, this is an interesting hand. So he's got 2 Uros that he's keeping, a Path and a Cryptic Command. And Inquisition's going to get either this Path or an Uro. I would assume we're going to see the Path get taken here, but we'll let Adam decide.
That's a reasonable expectation. I do like this hand. This is a hand that's probably good against almost anything. And we have early removal. We have, ramp into Cryptic Command. I mean, that's a little. If we're playing against a combo deck, we're going to be a little slow out of the gates, but that's going to be true of any hand we draw. And Uro is a selection.
Uro. Yeah. Which, it is a card. It replaces itself. It does, help him ramp and make these Cryptic Commands come online even earlier. Alongside Mystic Sanctuary, because that's kind of the problem with a Mystic Sanctuary Cryptic Command is you're not really drawing new cards every turn, and so you have to get way ahead on land so you can start 2 spelling, so you might be able to do like Cryptic Command plus Icewind Quaddle so that you get to draw that extra card.
So Wrenn 6 coming down here on turn 2, this is a great start for Adam's side. I mean, Inquisition to clear the way, and then Wrenn 6 to just start drawing cards out of the graveyard. Now you're not. It's not like generic card draw like most of the cards in the blue deck, but at the beginning of the game, drawing lands is fantastic. That's probably what Adam was looking for, and just increasing loyalty. This is, I mean, we can see, and we talked about this, there's no pressure on this Wrenn and 6, and nor is there any coming anytime soon.
Now, a lot of these Gen players have been moving to the 4 Lightning Bolt package, and that's partly a reason for that would be Wrenn and 6. Just being able to get back fetch lands, and then if you do ever get to get the emblem, you can just start retracing all of those Lightning Bolts and just do 3 over and over again each turn. Whereas if you had a larger number of Fatal Pushes, you don't really get that option.
That's true. That's a good point. This is, we actually did see in one of the earlier matches in this event, which you can go back and watch on, the whole spread of them are available on the YouTube channel. We did see a Wrenn and 6 emblem lose.
Oh, wow.
Which is probably not a super common occurrence, although it's not a game-winning emblem, but it is very strong.
So we do see the Tarmogoyf come down. No Path to Exile used.
Yeah, that surprised me too. Are we thinking we're saving it for something else and just taking a hit here? I mean, it's not a very big hit at this point, but...
Right, and you do kind of want to fill your graveyard because you have these Uros that you potentially want to escape. So we're going to see Liliana come down.
Well, that'll help
discarding.
That'll help fill the graveyard.
Yep. Now, Liliana, very good against Uro, unless you have like an Ice Vein Quaddle to back it up. And Wren's going to be really good with this discard effect on the Liliana as well. Sometimes you'll see players get down to no cards in hand, and then they'll plus the Liliana, and something like a Cryptic Command can bounce the Lily in response, and then force the discard. But with Wrenn just getting back a fetch land every turn, that's going to be really hard to do.
Mm-hmm. Depending on how long this game goes, Phil chose to discard an island instead of the fetch land, and that makes in a lot of obvious ways that's, well, yeah, we want to thin more lands out of the deck. We want to we don't care about taking the damage from the Rainforest. We might want to shuffle based on some criteria that might come up. But in a game that we anticipate being long, discarding the island actually means we've decreased by 1 the total mana we can actually have available at some very late point in the game. And that's maybe not something that's on the radar right now, maybe even shouldn't be, but it is something that we'll see if it actually matters, 10 or 15 turns from now.
So we're going to see Uro escaped this turn. It will allow him to put the Snow-Covered Forest in play. I'm really surprised they used the fetch land there because that fetch land did turn on Mystic Sanctuary as an option if he wanted it.
Sure.
There are a number of fetches in the deck, obviously, so he will have that option later, but is limiting him currently. I guess it allowed him to escape, right? Because he needed the card in the graveyard.
Yeah.
So that was his line of thinking.
Sure. And then that actually, yeah. So that makes sense all along, is to pitch the basic, because playing the fetch line puts an extra card in the graveyard as opposed to discarding the island. So I don't know. I mean, getting Earl on the board, that's great and everything, but we can't counter this Liliana minus. And
wow. Discarding Path to Exile.
Oh, I didn't expect that. Oh, well, okay, so, Liliana plus in the first. This is going to be tough. Phil's got himself in a spot where he's going to have to use Cryptic Command to bounce a Planeswalker to not get ultimated, but there are 2 ultimates coming.
Right.
And,
meanwhile, he's getting beat down as well.
Yeah, meanwhile, he's getting beat up by this Tarmogoyf that could have been answered. We have a lot of counters left in hand, but holding counters against Liliana the Veil isn't the best thing either.
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Now, Phil does have some draws. He's got Supreme Verdicts out. He's got 3 more Path to Exiles in his deck. He's got 2 Snapcaster Mages. So he might just be trying to play for the long game and, take some damage, use his life total. But there are things like Bolt and Bloodbraid Elf that he really needs to be concerned with. So he's going to bounce the Wrenn in 6. He can play the Snow-Covered Island, and now we'll have a mana leak to deal with the Wrenn, assuming that Adam does not have another land.
But he
could force it if he wants.
We anticipate hitting his land drops as he's drawn several lands out of the graveyard. He's probably not running out. This is looking... We might have to... We might end up with Phil untapping with no cards here. Yeah, force pitching the mana leak, deals with the Wrenn. Liliana's going to take care of that Field of Ruin, which in and of itself isn't worth anything at this point, but still, it's not. This isn't comfortable. I am very worried that Phil is out of this game.
Yeah, something like a Snapcaster Mage. A fetch land also allows him to escape the Uro if he wants, but if he does, he gets rid of one of those cryptic commands. If he finds a fetch land, he can get Sanctuary. Well, he picks up a Path to Exile.
Okay.
Interesting to wait there.
Yes.
Or to not wait.
I agree. If
that's gonna.
This is gonna.
Oh yeah. The Uro. Yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah, this makes perfect sense, and this is something where just not having played a lot with Earl and Constructed,
a play pattern. Yeah. So Earl's going to come down. Now we know that this Liliana has the option to make it Edict. The Peatland will probably be sacrificed.
That seems reasonable, especially if a Fatal Push here would be pretty devastating.
Oh yeah.
But
there is only one in his deck.
Right. As we were saying, there aren't many copies. So now what do you do with this Liliana?
Okay, well, we're going for discard, which means he might have an answer to it.
Yeah. He better have an answer to it. I don't think we can make that choice without being able to kill it.
There's a trophy. All right, so this is a big draw here. Again, fetch lands allow him to get Cryptic Command back on top.
Okay, well that's something.
Not great, but not bad. Big draw step here.
Okay.
Another redraw.
We'll maintain the tension for another few seconds.
And a Field of Ruin. Alright, so
Liliana
of the Veil.
This isn't going to be the worst ultimate ever. I mean, Phil has 8 land in play, so we're still going to have a playable amount of resources after this goes off if Adam just choose to fire off the ultimate right here.
Well, and the ultimate's not even very good, and here's why. So if you sack half your lands in the Icewind Quaddle and the Astrolabe, right, that's a lot of cards going to the graveyard. That Earl's just going to escape.
For sure, that is very true.
I actually think you're probably incentivized to just sacrifice a creature, which I think is what we're going to see here from Adam.
Interesting. Well... With the number of counters in Phil's deck, the Liliana is going to be just long-term effective as there's so many draws that are just going to be stuck and discarded, as we're seeing here with the Path to Exile.
So the Path getting discarded, and now the Field of Ruin as well, means a fetch land will allow the Uro to come back again. Mm-hmm. We could also see something like a Teferi Time Raveler come down and bounce the Astrolabe. That'll give him 2 cards, and Liliana only be able to take care of 1. Now, there are 2 Raging Ravines in Adam's deck, so these Field of Ruins, there is some cost to using them now, but again, he does probably want to be escaping this Uro.
This is impressive, though. This, without this Uro, Phil would have been dead and buried a couple turns ago, and now he's really looking okay.
So now he has 8 lands. He can do a thing, if he wanted, where you escape Uro, and then priority on the stack, you hold priority, and get Mystic Sanctuary, and put the Cryptic back on top, and he would have been able to have Cryptic in hand.
Well, again, he needed the fetch
the 5th land,
to pay for it, yeah.
The 5th card, sure.
Definitely the repeated use of Uro makes Mystic Sanctuary, there's just no cards in the graveyard to even put back at this point, and we're on turn 9. But yeah, this Uro is basically running even with this Liliana at this point.
So now if the Liliana minuses, then the Jace gets to come down.
Right.
And that's what's going to happen. And this Jace might be enough unless there's like a Thoughtseize here.
Adam seems to be running pretty much on empty.
Oh, wow. And this Jace is going to generate a ton of advantage.
Interesting playing the Ice
Do you
Fang.
Fate Seal?
I love Fate Sealing. Oh, I don't know if I love Scrying.
Well, you want to get it out of bolt range, right? So that's probably right.
Yeah, and we do have... there is a fetch land on the other side of the board, so it wouldn't make any difference this turn, but I do like forcing the activation of the fetch.
Now, something like a Bloodbraid Elf would be a very good draw for Adam.
It would.
He'd be able to kill the Jace with a Liliana minus.
And we're done.
And finding a Bolt, of course.
So Adam fetched anyway, even without the Fate Seal, but having a way to kill the Jace makes it irrelevant.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is... Somehow this game is still at parity. It's just Uro versus Liliana are basically playing... This is a great game. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the third copy of Path to Exile.
Yeah, and this is...
we're going to see go.
Again, Adam is drawing a lot of lands. TJ has a lot of lands also, but TJ's drawing a lot more cards.
Liliana has been at her kind of weakest in the last year or so because this discard effect, just putting things into the graveyard to be used elsewhere, is just so common right now. All right, so Barrenmore going to be cycled by Adam.
So the Snapcaster Mage would normally be a great draw, and yet here I believe we're looking at just a 2/1, as there are no relevant cards to flash back. Still,
And that 2/1, it might be good enough.
Yeah, being able to trade off with the Liliana is enough, and then combined with if the Liliana finishes off Snapcaster Mage, the addition of the fetch land will then allow Uro to come back once again.
We know he discarded an island, so I think there's one island left. He can get Sanctuary. He's starting to run out of fetchables, though. I think there's one forest. Oh, wow.
Okay, well, Adam was due for some relevant draws, and
for sure,
we've definitely found one. Found two.
So it'd be interesting to see if Adam attacks. I don't think I would attack if I was Adam, and I think that's what we're going to see here. If you can just wait a turn and have the Ren deal with the Snapcaster Mage, then your attacks look much, much better.
And just... Well, there's also, do we even want to deal with the Snapcaster Mage? Because the Snapcaster Mage dies,
sure.
the Uro can come back. So
yeah,
Adam
good point.
Yeah, Adam might be thinking, you can just have that. Well, hello.
And now the field's going to allow the Uro to come back this turn.
So that kind of undoes the strategy there for Adam. Unfortunately,
right, but it seems so likely that whatever Phil draws, there's a good chance he'll be able to, put something into the graveyard this turn. So attacking the Liliana makes the most sense if he's trying to protect the Uro, but the Ren gives the most advantage with the Barrenmore now in the graveyard. It's a really interesting decision. We'll see what Phil decides.
I feel like, based on what we know, I think I would want to attack the Liliana because it does allow the Uro chance to live.
Right, and the Uro can keep up in parity of the card draw.
Yeah.
If it can stick around.
Yeah, I like the choice there.
So that is 2 fields of the 4 being used. So there are, again, 2 Raging Ravines in Adam's list.
Yeah, and Phil actually...
Okay, so there aren't any fetchables.
No, Phil is out of lands to fetch, which definitely matters.
Okay, yeah, so he has the 1 forest, and then the 2 islands are gone. Yep. So just forcing a shuffle there.
Actually, I was looking at Phil's side. I'm not sure that Adam got a land either.
I can tell you here. Adam has 1 forest, 1 mountain.
Yeah.
This is basic.
So those actually effectively a wasteland. And Teferi is a big draw if it stays in the hand, but we know it's not going to.
Yeah, that's a rough draw. I'd be very sad. I'd be like, oh, man.
Well, like you were saying, now he's playing an extra copy, so there's still 1 left.
That's true.
And we're more than halfway through the deck for both players, so we definitely could find the other one. Adam discards Thoughtseize to his own Liliana activation, which is obviously way dead, and that's a big draw.
Are there any creatures in Adam's graveyard, though?
I'm not sure that there are, but I know that the Uro is not coming back any more times.
Right. And now you can't really attack with the Uro or the Snapcaster Mage. So it looks like we are going to attack.
Yeah, I think we have
force
to.
the double block. Hope to draw a Path to Exile. I guess if he wants to double block to remove it, the Scavenging Ooze isn't around.
Yeah.
And so this attack is fine.
I question the placement of that Flooded Strand into play off of the Uro trigger.
Right, because now the +1 on the Liliana means he has to discard the Force of Negation instead of the Flooded Strand.
On top of that, I don't know that there's any lands to fetch. Oh, I guess there's
Sanctuary.
Yeah, there's still shock lands also. I forgot about that, but
no, I think he's out of shock lands. I think it only plays 2 Breeding Pool and 1 Temple Garden and 1 Hallowed Fountain. I'll double check for you though.
And so we have an Inquisition here.
Yeah.
The fact that we're casting Inquisition before Liliana it activates. Are we potentially clearing the board here? I think we are. I think we're going to expend a little. Yeah. So the board's going to be cleared. Scavenging Ooze will prevent all that stuff from ever coming back. And boy, that Liliana did maybe as much work as I've ever seen a Liliana do without ultimating.
Right.
That was on the board for. Did that come down on turn 3 or 4? That might have activated.
It was turn 3. Yeah.
That might have activated upwards of 10 times.
So Phil draws Archmage's Charm. He's going to draw 2. Draws into another Archmage's Charm. Also has Astrolabe. So he's not out of this, right? If he can... I was going to say, if he can answer the Scavenging Ooze... Has he only been through 2 Uros or 3? I know at least 2 are gone, right? It's all 3, right? Because he exiled 1 the first time.
There were
the first escape.
There's definitely 2 are gone, for sure. I don't know about a third one.
I think it's all 3. Which means his only win condition right now is Teferi, Hero of Dominaria.
Well, that's...
So yeah, all 3 Uros are gone. I just saw him look.
That's going to be rough. And there's a Raging Ravine, and like you were pointing out, half the Field of Deads are gone. Or Field of Ruins.
And the other thing is, he's got 17, now 16 cards in the library if he wants to do this. So he's got 2 Icefang Quaddles.
Yes,
a Jace.
and a Jace. Okay, so there's 2 Planeswalkers that can win the game. Probably not.
But with only 16 cards, Teferi, Hero of Dominaria might not be able to ult in time.
Well,
he can loop Sanctuary and a Cryptic though, right?
Right. Well, that's the second Sanctuary there, and so yeah, as long as there's more Cryptics left, we've been through at least 1.
Wow, this is
really. I mean, it's rare when you have a matchup where the decks get to basically draw all of their cards, and you see who can basically play more efficiently because you're going to find everything that you have in your deck. This Phil is now looking. I mean, this is a lot that he's got access to right here. Like you're saying, he's going to have a hard time winning, but he has access to a lot of power now.
Now, if Adam has an answer to Icefang Quaddle, he can get this Teferi off the battlefield this turn by activating Raging Ravine, attacking it for 4, and then pinging it with Wrenn and 6.
Yeah, but he can't. There are no answers to Icefang Quaddle at instant speed because of Teferi Time Raveler being on the board. So this.
No, that's a Hero of Dominaria. That's the 5-mana Teferi.
The Teferi in play, I believe, is Time Raveler.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't see it. All right. So it did go to 5. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, this is... Let's see. 1, 2, 3... So if that Bloodstained Mire can actually fetch a land, then this Raging Ravine can attack. And we can kill the... we pitch cast the Force. Oh. It's well done. Although that has to trigger in Adam's mind, why was that Force pitch cast? That may be enough information on its own to realize that sending in the Ravine here is not safe. Well, we're going to see it anyway. So here it comes.
Wren's pretty close to ulting, though, right?
Yes, it is. It needs just 1 more plus, I believe. And Phil doesn't have any... Boy, I think it was about 50 seconds ago where I said, well, Phil's got a lot of power now when he had a bunch of cards in his hand. Those have now effectively evaporated.
Right. I don't know.
Okay.
If Phil has enough time with cards in his library for this Teferi to do enough. I guess if he can loop the Sanctuary Cryptic, then he can still... No, because he has to draw 2 a turn.
This is going to be... So right now there are... Yeah, a dwindling number of cards in the deck. This Astrolabe, are we... Yeah, we're still playing... Oh, I believe there's 10. Is that what that is right now?
I think that we are currently not watching the highest quality video of this, just so you guys are aware. So we're having a little trouble. Just
internet issues. This is going to take... Oh, this is going to... I mean, that Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, minus. And this Ren 6 can finish it off.
Right.
In which case...
It's just Jace.
It's just Jace, yeah.
And one Quaddle, which seems rough.
And Jace also requires some time to get to ultimate. Well, first we have to draw it. And then as soon as Jace hits the board, Adam would likely just accumulate cards in hand. As long as there's more cards than there are in Phil's deck when the ultimate goes off, Adam can't lose.
Well, again, is there a way to loop Cryptic Command Sanctuary so that you never draw out? So you cast Cryptic and bounce Sanctuary.
Right. And then
you have to have one card in library still though, right?
You can bounce. You can choose your two modes as like tap creatures and bounce Sanctuary, replay Sanctuary, get the card back. You're right, that could work. Yeah, you can maintain.
But there will always be a turn where you don't have Cryptic in hand. Oh no!
No. You would draw it back off each time. So yeah, you can maintain yourself you can survive at no cards in library in that scenario, as long as your opponent doesn't do anything besides attack you.
Well, if you're using it on their turn, right, then you don't have a card in library because it's in the graveyard.
Right. Yeah, you're right. You have to do it on your own turn. Yeah.
Yeah. Or have another card in your library. Right?
Yeah.
I think.
All right. Maelstrom Pulse
takes care.
Yeah, that isn't particularly relevant, and yeah, Phil packs it in with 3 cards left in his deck. He just wasn't able to function. So basically, Adam killed Phil's deck. He didn't necessarily kill Phil, but Phil just had nothing left.
Take care of all their win conditions, and that's enough.
That was an excellent first game.
So, taking a look at Phil's sideboard here on Bant Control, he's got 2 Ashiok Dreamrenders, 2 Celestial Purge, 2 Timely Reinforcements, 2 Veil of Summer, 1 Dovin's Veto, 1 Monastery Mentor, a Surgical Extraction, an Aether Gust, a Disdainful Stroke, and 2 Mystical Disputes. There's a lot of good stuff here. So, Phil is going to bring in the 2 Celestial Purge, which makes a lot of sense, deals with both Liliana and Renin 6, as well as some of the creatures like Bloodbraid Elf. He's got 2 Veil of Summers he's going to bring in as well. Also makes more sense against the discard effects of Adam's deck. And then 1 Aether Gust deals with all the green permanents, so things like Renin 6, Tarmogoyf, the red ones as well. So I definitely can see that one coming in. Not a matchup I think you want Disdainful Stroke in. I don't even think there's a 4-mana spell in his deck.
I think there's Bloodbraid Elf is the only one, probably.
Right. And then so on Adam's side, and then taking out, he's going to take out both Supreme Verdicts. That's a little interesting to me. Both Mana Leaks and a Force of Negation. Being able to play Mana Leaks a lot better too, so that's interesting to see. But again, these Celestial Purges kind of taking place of those might be enough. And you can play around Mana Leak if you want to.
Yeah, also, as we saw that game, I mean, anytime you play a 25-turn game, Mana Leak is going to go dead at some point, and right. You know that going in.
And then on Adam's side, he's going to bring in 2 Chokes, a lot of islands in this deck because you have a lot of basics, and you really want to turn on Mystic Sanctuaries. So Chokes, just a fantastic sideboard card against these decks right now. 2 Nile Spellbombs, just to eat those graveyards, helps similar to the Scavenging Ooze against those Uros. And then the 2 Ashiok Dreamrenders, mostly just turning off the fetch lands, I think, right? And then exiling the graveyard as well. And then he's got a Boil and a Pillage, which are some more interesting cards. Just bringing in the 1 Pillage, probably just to blow up Sanctuaries. I don't know what the plan is there. Maybe had too much to board out.
I'm not. What do you think? I'm not entirely confident either. I mean, when you have Choke and Boil, if we're really hating on the islands, being able to wipe out like a Plains or a
Sure.
a non-basic land type effective dual land to just further limit the mana. I suppose. Also, there could be we didn't see Celestial Colonnades, but Adam doesn't know that.
Right.
So he's thinking there might be some of those in there.
Sure. And he's going to board out 4 Lightning Bolts, 2 Tarmogoyfs, 1 Abrupt Decay, and 1 Fatal Push. The Tarmogoyf is an interesting consideration, but I think if you're expecting maybe like Rest in Peace, because the deck lists are closed, that's a reasonable conclusion to come to. Because most Jund players are playing the Croxes, so I think Rest in Peace is actually pretty decent against the Jund deck right now. Also, the Ren and 6 ult is way less effective when there's no graveyard.
Definitely. There's also with Uro on the other side, Rest in Peace is less likely, but we don't know for sure that it's not there. However, I do think like Tarmogoyf, that previous game was not decided by creature damage.
Right.
It was decided by basically overall threats in the deck. Even though Tarmogoyf was the remaining one at the end, they could have been anything, really. The one thing I'm somewhat, I'm not going to say surprised by, but I think is interesting, Phil just lost a game because he ran out of stuff. And so I thought there was a chance that the Monastery Mentor might come in just because it's a thing that Adam would have to, it's another thing that Adam would have to deal with. And we didn't see it come in here, which isn't necessarily a mistake. It's just, I feel like you could have had kind of a reflex, like, oh, I ran out of threats. I need more threats.
But, yeah, I kind of agree, and I do like the idea that, like, if you make 1 monk, you shut off that Liliana minus so well.
Yeah.
But again, those monks are really weak to Ren because you typically want to trigger those prowess on your own turn, which, again, Phil's not really doing too much of in this deck.
Definitely, and there's not, we don't have Opt in the deck, so it is not super easy to trigger the Monastery Mentor at instant speed.
All right, so we're going to jump into game 2. Phil will be on the play. We'll see if he can get a good start here. This seems like a fantastic start with against like a Thoughtseize deck. He'll get to play that Astrolabe on turn 1, and then if an Inquisition comes down, he's got 2 copies of that Teferi Time Rattler.
Yeah, I like this hand a lot. Although I also liked his opening hand in game 1 a fair amount, and then we progressed another 20 turns and things kind of fell apart. Also, opening hands really in a game that you can anticipate will last a long time, really any mix of just lands that's playable is going to be fine, because you're going to draw into your card drawing, you're going to draw into your powerful stuff eventually. You just need a functional start. So finally we see Kroxa played, and it's going to eat an island. I think that's fine. I mean, the fact that we got it going, I mean, Phil got to play with Uro numerous times last game, and Adam never got to see his version. He is playing one less copy of the equivalent Titan, but still, he gets his going first this time.
Phil's going to hold up Archmage's Charm for the counter mode this turn.
I wonder if he's maybe actually holding up, well, sure, definitely counter mode possible, but we might be playing on the draw card mode here, as we did discard our 4th land drop, and we're going to need a multitude more lands here to get going.
Yeah, I think if something like a Liliana was to be played there, that's likely he's going to counter it, but since it was just Scavenging Ooze, I do think you want to use your mana this turn and likely draw those 2 cards. I agree.
Yeah.
He can always path, at some point later.
I wonder, in that spot, though, if it was myself, I might have played Teferi last turn, just to get it on the board. Yeah, if Liliana comes down, okay, maybe that's not ideal, but we do if we have Teferi and Astrolabe, we can handle the card. We'll have plenty of cards discard as the game goes longer. Anyway, the choices were made that we saw, and things are developing fine.
This is going to be a Bloodbrain Elf.
Whoa.
Oh, choke. Oh, man. Now, there is a Plains in play.
Yeah.
And, that will untap. But he's going to need to draw some lands here.
Yeah, we may be at some point, the Teferi can, well, no, I was going to say Teferi can bounce the choke, but then Adam has every opportunity to replay it before Phil would get to untap.
If he can, force of negation it, though,
yeah,
that might be enough.
Yeah.
So we are going to see that path being used.
Teferi Time Reveler definitely relevant there as prevented Tarmogoyf from coming into play, which would have played a role here. I mean, there is not another removal spell currently available. I use Snapcaster Path, but still, Adam just not getting that Tarmogoyf for free makes Bloodbraid Elf a less impactful creature than it would have been otherwise.
Right. Phil is in a tight spot. It's going to use Assassin's Trophy.
Huh.
And we'll use Veil of Summer. It's going to draw us a card and protect the Teferi. Now, discard effects are not good this turn either.
I wonder if there's,
with the exception of Liliana.
I wonder if there's another Bloodbraid Elf in hand. That this Teferi doesn't seem like it's a huge problem right now to try and spend an Assassin's Trophy on. Although, on the other hand, maybe you're just trying to clear the way and tap some mana down for potential counters or something and to land the Ooze, because the Ooze is definitely a nice card. Does not.
Do you get this Jace online?
What does it cost? It costs you one land.
Costs one land.
Yeah.
And then you'd minus on the Ooze?
Right.
And then hopefully start finding some fetch lands?
Maybe. On the other hand, trading a Quaddle for the Scavenging Ooze also costs you the one land. And having Jace, having Jace left over in play is probably more desirable than having the cantrip from Quaddle. Maybe we're trying to get to a fifth land so we can play Teferi Hero on the choke and actually get it off the board for a couple turns. Or permanently if we can Field of Ruin to make it shuffle away.
Heads up play on Adam's side here. He eats the Path to Exile with a green star still left open to play around Snap Path. But then once the Path is eaten, he can then pop that P land and draw that extra card.
Mm-hmm.
So good sequencing there from Adam. The Scavenging is going to go after the Teferi.
Okay, Field of... well, it can bring up Basic Forest, which means... Well, let's see what's going to... Oh, this is just eating of probably something in the graveyard. But yeah, bringing Basic Forest into play actually still means it's going to cost a land to play the Quaddle, but the Basic is more useful than the field at this point for the next Quaddle. The next Quaddle can be cast without any taxing of islands.
Right. Does he have an instant speed answer to this?
He can't.
Doesn't.
You know, there's Teferi, Teferi Timer Reveler in play, so even if there was one, it's not going to matter. I am a little surprised that we didn't eat some more cards out of the graveyard with the Scavenging Ooze, as we saw last game. Just any incidental cards in the graveyard do matter.
Well, he's shocked, so he's got a big play this turn.
Well, we do have Kroxa in the graveyard, and okay, there we see it. So that's going to take something. Phil's hand is very stacked with cards. Snapcaster's the choice. Run in 6 comes down. Shoot the Teferi. Okay.
Well, he can gust the Kroxa and play Ice-Fang Quaddle. But it will cost him a land.
Alright, so Teferi plus, it looked like. I can't imagine we're going to let this Kroxa attack. We do have the cards in hand to discard, but there's just... I mean, are we going to try and trade Quaddle for it?
Yeah, that might be the play here, and then just discard the other 3-mana Teferi.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think he's looking for Force of Negation. I think that's probably his best draw, so he can bounce this choke.
Okay, Cryptic...
And then counter it on the way back.
Cryptic works also. Aethergust also. Actually, Aethergust can clear this choke out right now and allow an untap. That is going to allow Phil to basically develop his board, put the big Teferi down, and I think really pull ahead in this game. Stupid blue decks having all these cards that you deal with enchantments. How is that fair?
Yeah, Aethergust is just a super powerful card. I was very surprised when it was printed. It looks like innocuous at first, but it's so good.
It is unusual for cards to be able to deal with spells on the stack or in play. I guess there's some history of blue being able to do that with Venser Shaper Savant being, one of the greatest cards ever printed as far as I'm concerned.
Now, he will be able to not only play the Teferi of Hero of Dominaria, but he can plus and untap 2 lands, which is going to allow him to Cryptic Command the Choke on the way down if he wants to. He might not even want to, since he has a way to untap some lands.
Right. I mean, yeah, he could reasonably actually, it gets shuffled away. So I was thinking that another option would be to use the Field of Ruin to shuffle the choke away, but then Adam goes ahead. It's interesting that Adam chose to leave the choke on top of the deck and then shuffled. I guess it allowed him to just delay the decision.
Right, he gets the choice based on what Phil does.
Yeah.
Which I think once you see the 5-mana Teferi, because he's got 3 other lands that are untapping already, plus the Astrolabe. So untapping 2 islands with the... Well, no, can't stop dues, right? So does Teferi untap islands?
Yes.
Does it? Okay.
Choke is referring to during your untap.
Oh, during your... Okay,
yeah.
Sure.
All right, so here's another Bloodbraid Elf that I guess actually will kill... Well, it can kill Little Teferi or take a chunk out of Big Teferi, fill with an extra copy of each in hand. And a Jace. This is going to... Oh, boy. Phil just needs a little bit of time. And
that path was an
excellent
draw.
Was. The path was nice. A little bit of time to just allow these Planeswalkers to take over the board, as Adam is now empty-handed with a Ren 6 in play, which is something, but...
He can actually deploy the Jace here, too, if he wants. I'm a little surprised on the bounce there.
I agree.
Because the Ren can now deal with the 3-mana Teferi. Jace gets to come down. Fate Seal, which I think is fine.
Yeah, okay, we have the path still available with the untap. Yeah, this is you're right. The Fairy Time Revolver gets picked off there, basically for free. This is...
Well, now the Bloodbraid Elf gets to Cascade.
Mm-hmm.
And if he just would have plussed and path the Bloodbraid
Inquisition on the path actually matters.
Yeah.
Phil's still in very good shape, but things maybe could have been orchestrated slightly differently here.
So now he's going to need... so he can upkeep, get a Sanctuary, and potentially get back to the path. Yeah. Or does he still have a Supreme Verdict? Or no, he took those out. That's right. I remember talking about them, but I was thinking...
All right.
There's a Croxa.
Croxa comes back. That's nice. It's not... I don't think there's enough here to allow Adam to come back, but he's making a good show of it.
Okay, now, if he can find another fetch land, he can... Okay. He had another Sanctuary. So, he can path, play the other Sanctuary, put path on top, draw the path with Teferi, and get rid of both of these creatures this turn.
Yeah. Oh, we used the Teferi, but we can draw with the Astrolabe or the Ice Fang. I mean, there's...
he already drew with Teferi?
Yeah,
okay.
but the same thing... I mean... You're right, though. Yeah. The same effective thing will happen using one of the other cantrips.
And we're going to pack it up.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, well, that was the short game so far in the series, I think.
Yeah. So we are going to go to Game 3, but you can follow along with all of these videos, as well as our CTs, CTQs, and trials on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, everything at NRG Series. And check us out at nerdragegaming.com. We post articles up there about what's going on in the series. Sometimes we'll do metagame analysis of our trials, things like that. And you can find more information about this charity event up there as well. Phil's deck. So looking at the sideboards again. Looks like Phil is not going to make any changes, but Adam is going to bring in a Lightning Bolt, Abrupt Decay, probably looking for more answers to Little Teferi. to turn those Blood Braids back on. And then he's going to take out an Ashiok and one of those Nile Spellbombs.
Yeah, that seems reasonable to me. And the Ashiok itself is kind of just, we should have Uro, or we could potentially win by decking, as given, again, the length of these games, normally milling a win condition really doesn't make much of a difference. But when you're playing long enough to actually draw everything in your deck, you are actually dealing with things if they get milled over and exiled. So maybe not a slam dunk to play it, but it could have some effect. But trimming one of them back out here seems reasonable.
So what's your feeling on the split of like one Ashiok and one Spellbomb now in his deck versus like two Ashioks or two Spellbombs? We saw the graveyard right there at the end did play a huge part in that, kind of swinging that matchup.
I kind of like... I like the cantrip out of Spellbomb is nice, but I actually kind of like the Ashiok just because it's an actual threat. Phil is not great at dealing with Planeswalkers, and the Ashiok represents, the potential to mill 20 cards, and that could end a game.
Right. Yeah, if anything goes like game one, you're right. This Ashiok could just come down and late game and just immediately shut it off. And if it comes down turn 3, and Phil's been holding all of his fetch lands for Mystic Sanctuaries later on, they could just turn off lands as well.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting decision. I tend to agree with you. I think I'd rather have the Ashioks. The Spellbomb does cantrip like we talk about, but I expect these games to go long enough where Ashiok's effect is just good enough by itself. So Phil will be on the draw. We see the age-old Sanctuary Temple Gardener opener. So this is where the mana can get a little awkward. He will be able to play these Icebane Quaddles on 2 by leading on Sanctuary, but Caudle wants 3 other snow permanents, and so these things are not going to have Death Touch for a while.
Yeah, but they're still going to draw cards to help hit land drops. I imagine we'll see one taken here. I'm just thinking to myself, I wonder if because we saw 2 Tarmogoyfs were boarded out by Adam. I wonder if we could have boarded out more of them to leave in Ashiok, because Ashiok and Tarmogoyf are both kind of long game, pressure-y threats, and there's more removal for the Tarmogoyfs than there are for the Ashioks.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting decision, for sure.
Okay, so the Thoughtseize actually took Teferi, not a Quaddle.
Likely means he has a 2-mana creature to be played here.
Yes, and you're correct about that.
And there's another Quaddle.
Boy.
So with 1 snow permanent and all 3 Quaddles on the field, they'll all have Death Touch.
This would be a spot where if we were playing Legacy and we had Cabal Therapy as our discard spell to take out the 2 Quaddles, and then Phil has randomly drawn the 3rd one, that would have been just nightmarish. And now this is okay. So Liliana is, oh my goodness.
So we're going to discard now. Something to keep in mind here: Adam only has 5 minutes left on his clock.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Phil has a solid 9 minutes.
And discarding
Phil.
I think Quaddles, even though we're missing our land drop here, I think we'll main phase another Quaddle here to try and hit it. But I think Quaddles are so good, eventually they'll have Death Touch, that drawing all 4 of them actually is just fantastic.
And yeah, if another snow land comes down or that 3rd Icebane Quaddle, they will have Death Touch. There's a Raging Ravine. Adam needs to play pretty quickly here. Down to 4.5 minutes. And I think he's taking lines that kind of show to me that, he's wanting to be super aggressive. Wouldn't be surprised if we see another minus here.
Yeah, well, I think we definitely will, based on the fact that we did it the first time. This is not what you want. You're Liliana trading for cards that are effectively free for the opponent because they're free cantrips. Card-wise, obviously it costs mana.
Yeah, Scavenging Ooze not doesn't hurt a ton. Like Uro gains back, more than half of the life you took. Mm-hmm. So I think that we can probably take this hit and just play Quaddle to try to get another land drop here.
Yeah, I think the clock is not going to be relevant at all. I think Adam's just buried here. He's out of cards already.
Right. It's certainly going to make his turns go quick if he doesn't have much to do. Still no 4th land.
Huh.
Picks up another copy of Path to Exile. Unfortunately, this Temple Garden is sometimes awkward. Like, these Archmage's Charms just can't draw cards right now.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we're playing Uro. This is the only thing we can do, unless we're killing the Scavenging Ooze, but...
you don't want to play Uro because of the Scavenging Ooze.
Right.
So we need to path that first.
This is allowing time for... I guess there are 2 paths. I mean, because if we if Adam doesn't find anything to do, the Raging Ravine's going to come in this turn. Let's see.
Something like a Bloodbraid Elf would be very good.
Yes, it would be excellent, and that's what we see.
Wow, okay.
It's probably... Okay, that's fine. I mean, there's no real bad hits here. I think we're taking Path? Or I guess we could take Uro.
You could take Uro and then eat it. So I think, yeah, this is heads up from Phil's side. He needs to path the Scavenging Ooze now so that the Inquisition can't take the Uro. And now he'll be able to take this path if he wants.
Phil is at
makes
12. So there's a lot going on here, even though Adam is devoid of cards in hand. This is... He knows he has the Liliana activation still to come. Okay, takes Path. Plus Liliana. Phil...
He needs to find a Field of Ruin. I think...
Sorry, go ahead.
I think a Field of the Ruin would have been one of his best draws. He gets to take care of the Raging Ravine, put another Snow Permanent into play, and get that 3rd blue source online for the Archmage's Charms.
So what I was going to say was, I'm surprised that Jace was selection instead of one of the Archmage Charms, as far as Phil choosing what to discard. Because drawing an island, which he did do, would have enabled the Jace, but not the Charm. So I feel like holding the 2 Charms in hand is... I'm not sure I'm on board with that. This is a big hit coming in here. Now we're going to activate Liliana, discard... Oh my goodness. Oh, so wow. Oh. So Adam drew a card that he values more than a random card out of Phil's hand, which, okay. Interesting, and also fortunate for Phil, I think? I'm not sure.
Well, this Astrolabe's huge because it's going to make a 3rd Snow Permanent, and it's going to turn on the Archmage's Charm.
Yes, that matters a great deal. And now the Liliana just dies. Huh.
But now the Raging Ravine's threatening lethal, right?
Yeah, on its own. This is...
And he can't get Uro back.
Can we...
So he has to find a path here?
Is Phil dead?
I think Phil's dead. I think this line of attacking with a Quaddle was put lethal on board for Adam.
And the Raging Ravine doesn't activate because are we playing around? Do we draw a bolt, or are we afraid of? Oh my goodness! Oh wow!
But he can discard.
No, because he
can discard like Archmage's Charm.
But he can play it twice.
But then he can discard Veil.
But that would. Oh, you're right.
Each opponent discards.
You're right. Okay, so we'll see.
So he was making sure it wasn't a targeted effect because then he could discard.
Then
he could use the Veil.
He could Veil it, yeah. Okay, so
and then that would actually be really good because then when he gets it back, but it's each opponent. So now he has to decide: do I get rid of the Teferi Time Reveler, or do I get rid of the Veil of Summer? I feel like it's the Teferi because next turn he can escape Uro, gain 3, and have Veil up.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Also, keeping Teferi it doesn't do anything at this point.
Right.
The fetch land's actually still active. Well, okay, one of them is.
Okay, is there a way he can put Path back on top and then draw it with the Uro? Because that'd be pretty good here.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're gonna see.
Oh no, he can't. He can. Yeah, he can still cast it off the Astrolabe, and that is going to be a blowout.
Now, it's the way he had to tap. He can't Veil anything, as well.
That's true. No, he can because he can fetch because he gains a life from the Uro.
Oh right, you're right. Oh, wow.
This has really gone back.
I forgot that Misty came into play. But it can't get a basic plane, so he's going to have to shock. Which I don't think that matters too much.
He can get away with that.
Holy, this game is so cool.
This is really cool.
Oh my gosh. Another Bloodbraid hits a Croxa, which has to discard the Veil.
Right.
Okay. Now, he's got both Sanctuaries in play, unfortunately, so he can't fetch a Sanctuary to put the path back up after using it.
Mm-hmm.
So... I'm not sure if I'm always yielding to that trigger. but Phil's going to go ahead and decide that, I think probably in the interest of time.
All right, so we're going to see Path now, and then we're going to attack. Oh, no, it's somebody's sick. Well, okay, I don't think we needed to Path immediately. But
well, you wanted to because if the discard trigger goes on the stack and you use the Path, then you still take 3. Because you don't have anything to discard.
No,
before combat,
I got confused on whose turn it was. I was thinking...
Sure.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So now he gets an attack with Uro because he drew a Cryptic Command. And now he can start doing the loop that I talked about earlier where you have Sanctuary, Cryptic, and Uro, and you tap your opponent's team, bounce the Sanctuary, play Sanctuary, put Cryptic back on top, attack with Uro, and then you just can get to repeat that every turn. So I think Phil's going to win this game, and even through this Bloodbraid Elf.
Well, this... Okay, so Cryptic. So this will allow, let's see, Quaddle gets picked off. That doesn't matter much.
I think you're supposed to let this resolve. I think the correct play is to let it resolve. And then go for the tap the team, let him kill your Quaddle, and bounce your Sanctuary and do the loop that I was talking about.
Right, and Adam's down to 9 now because the Uro hit. Like, it's not going to take much before... he's dead himself.
Now, he has to be a little careful. He might consider killing the Wrenn because of the Raging Ravine, because if you tap the team, he can do the Raging Ravine post-combat.
That's true.
So that is something to consider. But because of this loop, I don't think he cares too much about taking a turn off.
Yeah, because he has enough life now. He can absorb a Raging Ravine.
Right, but he can't... and a Bolt, though, would kill him.
Well, that's true.
So that's what he needs to be careful of.
Yeah.
If a Bolt off the top.
Oh, boy. So, this is...
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
Man, if that was instant speed, he was so screwed. Ugh.
All right, so get back to having 3 islands.
Yep. And then we'll put Cryptic back on top.
If that had been the choke instead of the pillage,
oh yeah,
I think Phil would have died. He would have died.
Yeah, he would have had 1 land on top.
Yeah.
So Phil deciding here, is he thinking about
he would have
not taking that line?
Well, I don't...
He's down to 3 minutes.
I mean, well, time is not really a factor here. The game's so close. The players... I don't even think Adam's clock matters anymore at 1 minute. Both players... The game's going to end one way or the other.
Is he trying to decide whether he needs to kill Wrenn or not, though?
Yeah.
I think you're supposed to play around Lightning Bolt. He can't beat Lightning Bolt plus the Raging Ravine. If he attacks Wrenn, he can beat it, right?
If he attacked Wrenn...
I guess it wouldn't matter.
5, 6, 7... Whoa, what is... Oh, right, we can play this too. We have just enough mana.
So we're going to go for upkeep, tap your team. So he dies to Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, I don't know why
there's no way around that.
I don't know why we tap on upkeep. I don't know that it makes a huge difference, but... Let's see.
Oh, right. Because of the... I was thinking he had to kill Wrenn when he was at 8. And the reason was because Wrenn can deal 1 to you.
Yeah.
But because of that fetch land to get the Breeding Pool, he's at 7.
Yeah.
So now he shouldn't kill Wrenn. Yeah, okay. Is there a Baron Moor in the graveyard, though? That gives him another draw to a Bolt. I think I see one. It's like third from the
Yeah,
bottom.
no, there is. You're right. All right, so you just swing out here first. I guess we could cryptic. We could actually maybe we should use the Wren first because we could go cryptic, tap the guys, bounce the Wren. That would
definitely
slow things down.
Because he doesn't need to return Sanctuary this turn, although he should, because if Adam draws a creature, that plan, well, he can just tuck it with the fairy. So I think drawing a card here is pretty safe.
Oh, another reason to do it this way: if we went tap creatures, bounce Wren, and then Adam bolted his own Wren in response, then he would die because the tap would get fizzled.
Does tap not target?
No, it's just tap creatures opponent's control. It's not target opponent, I don't believe.
Oh, okay.
All right, so then we have the cycling. But we didn't attack, so I think it's just already over. I guess if we can actually kill the Uro, although I don't know how that's going to happen. We are done. Wow.
And there's the time. Okay, so before we go on, let's see here. So he died to time. So he plays Kroxa, you exile the Purge, and then, or you discard the Purge, and then you can just bounce the Kroxa. Yeah, so he had lethal here, right?
It's over anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, so Phil would have won regardless of Adam going to time there. But that was a very tight game. And we just see the power of Uro there, and that's taking over at the end.
That's something that, I mean, it's possible I'm wrong, but on the one turn where where Adam drew the Kroxa and cast it and then brought it back, instead of activating the Raging Ravine when Phil had just 1 mana up, if the Raging Ravine activated, that was it. Phil was dead. He had no answer to it. And Adam...
Oh, yeah, he played around Path.
And it cost him the match.
Right. And the fact that Phil drew 2 cards on his main phase means he's probably looking for something.
Yeah.
So then it's whether or not he found the path or not. So maybe you're supposed to go for it that turn.
That's tough. I mean, it's obviously easy to decide after having watched it what would have been more desirable.
So Phil Silberman's going to move on with Bant Control, winning over Adam Raschig. He'll be playing the winner of Harrison Rollins and Will Kruger. We'll have that match up on YouTube in the next couple of days for you. I really enjoy this Bant Control deck. I think it was a great choice by Phil, and I bet he's having a ton of fun playing it. It is a little intensive. It doesn't have as many win conditions as the Stone Blade, so he does have to keep an eye on that clock, as we kind of saw. But this has been a great event so far, and I'm really, really excited to see Phil move on.
Yeah, I think that was the closest match that I've seen so far of the matches I've done. Not many matches are as close as that one, just in general. And so that was really exciting. So Adam Raschig, thanks for playing. Sorry that didn't work out quite well, just as well as you hoped. But yeah, Phil Silberman advances to the round of 8.
And we want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, KMC. I've been using KMC sleeves for years and years. I've got a huge box of them down in my basement that I've gone through them. I use them for drafting now. This sleeve is just super high quality. I can use them for months and months and months in a single deck. Now, if I'm going to a tournament, I don't know about you, Joe, but I just get a new pack of sleeves every single time just to make sure there's no nicks or anything. But this is a sleeve throughout a tournament. My corners never bend. I don't get nicks like I do with other sleeves, and I just love the matte finish on them. It makes them so easy to shuffle.
So as we're moving through this event, you can see on nerdragegaming.com deck lists will be available, as well as deck lists from our CTs throughout the year. You can look at the past events and find out general information about the series on nerdragegaming.com. So that brings us now, we've got 1 match remaining in the round of 16 at the NRG Series MTGO Invitational. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow with another match.